Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck. Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities, and they're elected by American citizens. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. And term limits ain't going to be any good. You're just going to wind up with a brand new bunch of selfish, ignorant Americans. So maybe it's not the politicians who suck. Maybe something else sucks around here. Like the public. Because if it's really just the fault of these politicians, then where are all the other bright people of conscience? Where are all the bright, honest, intelligent Americans ready to step in and save the nation and lead the way? We don't have people like that in this country. Everybody's at the mall, scratching his ass, picking his nose, taking his credit card out of his fanny pack and buying a pair of sneakers with lights in them. It's what our system produces. It's what our system produces.
Hello, everybody. This is Peter. This is our February 9th, 2011 weekly radio address, though I know things have been intermittent recently, and I'm going to do my best to try and keep this up. Unfortunately, I have a kind of a long-term exhausted feeling of the months of really not getting good sleep from the creation of the film, and I'm trying to take better care of myself. I think I'm okay at times, and then sometimes I find myself getting very irritated and frustrated by the tiniest little things, so I have to stop that. It means that I'm basically at a point of burnout, so I have to recognize that within myself and to be responsible on that level. But we have a lot of things to run down today, specifically Zeitgeist Day 2011. Zeitgeist Day 2011, there is a website that has been generated called zdayglobal.org, zdayglobal.org. And this will be the hub of submissions and various information. It's still being developed right now. I don't think the submissions are live right now, but I know people are working on it right now. So keep tapped on that, and I will certainly make email blast announcements when that is live. But I really hope everyone is anticipating a nice response from their community and a big event in their area, in your area. I think Zeitgeist Day is, well, very, very critical to show that we again have the ability to mobilize on a global scale. And that's what this is about. And bring the world together on a global scale, which is also, in fact, what this is entirely about. But that's for another conversation. You know, it just struck me right before this show came on how naive I was when I first started this thing, when I first set this in motion. I don't claim to have started anything, but set in motion. And I thought to myself, you know what? You know, when I met Jacques and Roxanne, like, how could anyone argue? How could anyone argue with the idea of the world learning to work together for the benefit of each other? How could anyone argue the need to take care of the environment and to need to respect natural processes and natural laws? And boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Then again, I was partially right, I suppose, because there are many people that do get it, but there are also many people that do not. And part of this program, after I talk about Z-Day, is going to be on a little section I call the circus. And I mean that in a very jaunty way, because I don't, you know, I want to try my best to respect those that object to what we talk about, and many of them do have critical, thoughtful objections. And, you know, if we all agreed, there would be no progress. So it's very important that we listen to each other. It's very important that we take to heart those that criticize the movement, the Venus Project, and the ideas therein. But the circus is a little bit different. The circus is this dividing line between rational, critical, you know, objections and just flagrant ad hominem attacks and surface associations, and various erroneous issues that come up that I typically avoid. But for a brief point in this radio broadcast, a brief moment in this radio broadcast, I'm going to go through some of these issues very, very briefly. So I've already begun to deviate. Back to Zeitgeist Day, the Venus Project. The Venus Project will not make it to Zeitgeist Day London, the so-called main event, even though really they're all main events. Let's keep that in mind. But the event that I'll be at and that major coordinators will be at, just to give kind of a central hub of this that will be taped and online and streamed for free. The Venus Project has an engagement that's conflicting, a meeting in Latin America, which is very important to their work, that I'm not going to go into, but that's one drawdown. We don't have the Venus Project for Z-Day London, but life moves on, and Jacques and Roxanne are doing very, very well. Their popularity is naturally as large as ever. Jacques is still just doing wonderfully, giving 6-7 hour lectures every weekend to full house crowds that come to visit. Wonderful thing. So anyway, I won't harp on that. But that's pretty much it for Zeitgeist Day. Go to zdayglobal.org and then pay attention to the forums and pay attention to your community and get these events going. There's going to be a toolkit. Honestly, you could reference the zday2010.org if you want to get some background materials if they haven't been posted yet to zdayglobal.org. There shouldn't be any confusion about that, and mass emails will be going out soon as well. But plenty of people have had experience with Z-Day the past 2 years, so if you're new to the movement and you're not familiar with it, just start asking around in the community, and people will be happy to help you out, I'm sure. All right, let's see here. I don't want to spend too much time going through these various points, because I really want to answer questions, which is always a nice exercise, and I haven't done it in a long time. By the way, these questions were presented on the Global Forum. In the future, if I do question and answers again, which I'm sure I will, you can go to the Global Forum and you can post those questions if you've never done so. Now, the Why I Advocate campaign. I am really happy with, not that my value and what I think is important, but I'm personally just happy to see the people that responded to Why I Advocate and the numerous responses and the quality of those responses. I learn a lot from other people's interpretations, and I think it's very important that we all listen to each other, and that's again how we grow as a communal organism. We as individuals get locked into states of mind. It has something to do with our programming. It's only when we engage others that we can open up, generally speaking. It's a process of education, different perspectives. What we're going to do with the Why I Advocate campaign, while it's being posted at the Zeitgeist Media Project, zeitgeistmediaproject.com, we're actually creating a kind of a blog website for this that's being done by Anya in Iowa. Big thanks to her. It will be tzm.tv. It's already partially up now, but it's being updated. So tzm.tv. And this is where we're going to put all this stuff and then other campaigns we have with personal type blog, video testimonials, or anything else. This is an extension of the Zeitgeist Media Project, which actually I'm going to go into another extension here in a second. But tzm.tv, this is where it's going to happen. And then as I mentioned in on the article at the global site about what this is about, we're going to create a movie, and I think I mentioned it last radio broadcast as well, but we're going to create a film with everyone, or some of them, that have the most unique presentations, have the most thoughtful presentations to show a global community, which is what it's about, to show the public that this isn't some isolated thing. This breaches all religions, all races, all creeds, all classes. And I think it's very important that people see that focus, especially in the media now that's getting kind of harsh on the movement, getting harsh on myself, with these erroneous associations to Tucson, Arizona. We have the conservatives going crazy, but I'm going to talk about that in a second when I get to the circus in a little while. But when it comes to the Zeitgeist Media Project, another point. Excuse my rambling today. I'm just going to keep rambling, so just bear with me. I want to start the Zeitgeist Media Festival, or Zeitgeist Festival, or something to that effect, Zeitgeist Arts Festival. Haven't quite figured out what to call it, but it's an extension of the Media Project for Live Performance. And I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Hopefully later this year, maybe late summer, in Los Angeles, New York, a major American city, wherever I am, we will have a nice media event, an all-day long media event for socially conscious performance pieces, art, music, whatever. Sort of like a Lollapalooza for sustainable values, if you will. That's the kind of the way I think about it. No commercialization. The attempt is to jumpstart a global festival, whether it's a simultaneous day where everyone comes together, sort of like Zeitgeist Day, and says, oh, we're going to celebrate these values, as opposed to just providing intellectual content, which is what Zeitgeist Day is about. And I think it'd be a wonderful thing. I know a lot of great artists that are very much involved in socially conscious media that I think would jump at the chance. Zeitgeist is growing as a phenomenon on multiple levels, whether it's the movement, whether it's the film series. It's becoming an amalgam of different circumstances. The movement naturally is the most important attribute. We want to bring people in. But it's important we permeate the culture as much as possible on multiple levels. I don't talk about this very much, but I'm going to actually detour to this right now. The Zeitgeist movement subconsciously operates on many different levels. While we advocate the Venus Project, while we push towards a resource-based economy, we also are advocating a certain type of value system. We're advocating people learning to respect each other. We're advocating people learning to accept each other. We're advocating people learning to understand that we're victims of culture. That when you run into somebody that's highly apparated from your standpoint, say a racist individual, you not only understand them in their background, knowing that they're a product, knowing that they're not responsible for those views in a causal sense. They're responsible for perpetuating them, but they're not responsible for the ideas themselves. Just like I'm not responsible for everything coming out of my mouth right now in the sense that all of the information I have has been presented to me in one form or another. We're all kind of vehicles of information relay on that sense. It might sound very dehumanizing to talk that way, but when it comes to information and values and the way people think and the information, every word that I say has been taught to me. You can argue evolutionary psychology and all of this, and there's merit to it all, but we have a receptive programming, that takes information in from the environment and regurgitates it through our actions based on what's rewarded. That's essentially how the human being is culminated. Again, it's not a blank slate. Please don't read into this, and I'm not explaining it very well, but I'm going to leave it at that. The Zeitgeist movement operates at different values. We want to create a system where everyone respects each other for who they are and understands each other and how they've come to fruition in their worldviews. We want to create a system that says, some people are not just more deserving than others in this arbitrary orientation that we've come to know from the market system, where hedge fund managers make $300 to $400 million a year, while scientists trying to actually contribute to society will make $60,000, $70,000 a year in their professional career if they're lucky. These types of values are important, and that brings us back to the Zeitgeist Media Festival or something to that effect. I'm not quite sure what it will be called. And I think it would be absolutely wonderful to get artists out there that do have an inkling to be socially conscious, that have songs that are socially conscious, that accept the Zeitgeist gesture. They might not even be in the movement, but accept the gesture of what we're trying to promote with equality and sustainability, and to create an outlet for those types of communications. Again, you can tell people intellectually things all day long, but unless they feel it, unless they can relate to it, you tend not to get through to them. And there's many different factors to that. It's important to remember that people can only rationalize based on the tools that they've been given. So you have to expand people's data sets, their referential sets, if you will, in order to get them to understand what the Zeitgeist movement is about. And to do that, you have to create vulnerability. You have to be able to make them want to understand, if you will. It has to become emotionally rewarding, and it has to support the values that they have. If you're talking to a racist, they might not support a resource-based economy because they don't feel that equality, regardless of how you explain the sustainable nature of it, can work. They don't feel that equality is of a value that they respect because they've been conditioned not to respect equality. So what I'm trying to say here is that the Zeitgeist movement really operates on